everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of my thrift store makeover series. Although technically this item that I have for today wasn't from a thrift store, but it is secondhand. This is like a flower pot, I believe, and as you can see, it's very much like sun damaged, or like the color is very different and faded because of the sun. It used to be like a light pink, I believe, and now it's like this orangey peachy color because of all the sun it's taken. And so I'm starting off by roughing up the surface with some sandpaper to prepare it for paint. And then after dusting it off and cleaning my surface, went in with some acrylic gesso to help prepare it. It had a very like smooth, shiny surface. And so the gesso is going to help the acrylic paint, which is what I'll be using, stick to it. As well, it's also a really nice base coat for whites. And for my idea for this project, for this makeover, is going to be the majority of it is going to stay white. So a good base coat will do more than enough. I believe I did either 1 or 2 coats with the gesso, and then did 1 or 2 coats with just regular white acrylic paints. And here you can see how that turned out. I did 3 coats of whites, either 2 with gesso and 1 with acrylic paint, or 1 with gesso and 2 with acrylic paint. But basically what matters is that it's now fully white. And so for my idea, when I first got this, I instantly started counting the little hearts and the little stripes that it has. And it had exactly 12, which meant it was perfect to do the 6 colored rainbow twice all the way around. And once I realized that, figured that out, I had been pretty much fully sold on the idea. I wasn't sure if I was going to go for like a bold or bright rainbow or like pastel. At first I was thinking of going metallic, but metallic paint is kind of expensive and I didn't have any. And so instead I kind of went with this, not like bold rainbow, but it's definitely not like pastel rainbow either. And so I did pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And I just did it on the stripes, the little hearts, and the little square circle things at the bottom. And this was really hard to film and record and try to paint neatly. It was really tall for my like filming setup, and so I basically had a fight with how easy it would be to see on camera versus how easy it was for me to see while painting. But I did my best to try to get a good compromise in. I have to say I got so lucky this time. I only needed to do 2 coats of color for the whole rainbow stripes that I was doing. Normally it takes about 3 coats for the stuff that I'm doing, and with colors like yellow and sometimes the orange and red, it can take up to like 5 or 6 coats, especially the yellow. I don't know why, but my yellow paint, whether it's acrylic or fabric paint, is always so transparent. But this time I got really lucky and I only needed to do 2 coats over everything, and it gave me a nice solid opaque look. I try to be really careful when I was filling in the lines of color because I didn't want to go too out of the lines and then have to paint over it in white, because that would have taken even longer. And as you can see, I did do a rough coat of white on the inside. I didn't really focus too much on the inside because it's not going to be seen, and if this ends up being used for flowers, it's going to be covered with dirt or water or something. Once everything was dry though, I gave it 1 coat of Mod Podge to seal it all in, and then with my glossy Mod Podge, I used it only on the parts with color to give it a nice shiny finish. Mod Podge is a protectant and sealant, and it comes in different forms. I have the matte and the glossy ones. The only difference between the two is that one of them gives you a nice matte finish and the other one gives you a glossy finish. So technically the colored stripes and stuff have double of the protection. But the reason I did this was to, since my original idea was to do like a metallic rainbow, I wanted the colors to be very shiny and I wanted them to stand out against the white, which is also why I didn't do like my usual pastel rainbow, because if it was too pastel or too light, then I was afraid it was just gonna like blend in with all of the white around it. And although it's somewhat subtle since the stripes do take up a majority of this space, you can, especially up close, can definitely tell the difference and see the parts that are shiny and which ones aren't. And I feel like that adds a nice level of like dimension, and I just feel like it looks really nice. I don't always do this. Sometimes I want my things to be all matte or all shiny, and it does take a little bit longer if you're doing things like this where you do half matte, half shiny. But I had the time this time, and I'm really happy I did because I feel like it turned out really nice. Here you can see how it looks once it was fully dry. I don't know why, but it was giving me like carnival carousel vibes, especially when I was spinning it like that. It kind of mesmerized me. And as you saw earlier, I did put my initials and the date on the bottom, and I just used like my white Posca marker for that. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. It was a pretty simple makeover, but I think it was very much needed. I think it looks a lot better than that like peachy orange color that it got because of the sun. But I really hope you all enjoy this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye!